Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Kristina. In my videos, I talk about a plant-based diet and nursing school. If you like these types of videos, please like this video and subscribe down below. Today I'm going to give you guys some updates about where I've been and why I've been MIA, and a little bit about my NCLEX experience. Let's get into it. For those of you who've been watching me since I started my channel, I really appreciate the support and following me and liking my videos and subscribing and interacting with them. I really appreciate it. I'm not really sure if I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but during my last semester of nursing school, I was already 8 months pregnant. So needless to say, I had my hands full. Normally, I like to post a video every Thursday, but during that time period, it was a time where I needed to study for my HESI cumulative exam. I was dealing with pregnancy at 8 months is a lot, and also on top of it, it was like my last core classes, which were still very difficult. So I needed to juggle a lot of things, and I needed some time off to be able to do that. I also was preparing for the NCLEX. So in my school, we were doing a ton of questions, thousands and thousands of questions. I'm not even exaggerating when I say thousands. It was so many questions that we had to do in such a short amount of time, and I'm thankful that we had to do them because I was able to pass my NCLEX on the first time. But it was definitely rigorous and challenging at times, but I was able to get through it. So I'm going to give you guys a closer look at what I did to prepare myself for the NCLEX and just some updates about what's going on in my life. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. So December of last year was when I graduated from nursing school. I took my cumulative HESI exam, and for those of you that need to take it, it's definitely a stressful exam, but I will give you some tips and tricks. I'll make another video if you guys want it. Let me know in the comments down below. Whoever needs to take it, I could definitely help you. Because I made my other HESI video, which is more the generic, the basic one, the one that you take your first semester or second semester of nursing school for those of you that have to take it. But this one is cumulative, meaning it combines everything that you've ever learned in nursing school, which is a lot, just like the NCLEX. The great thing about the HESI exam is if you pass it, then you have like a 90-something% chance, 96% chance I believe it is, to pass the NCLEX on the first time. So I was grateful that I was able to pass it, and I was able to pass my NCLEX on the first time. So like I said, I graduated in December, and then come January, I had my daughter. So that was a big transition because I not only graduated, but then I moved out of state. I went back home to my hometown in New York, and I had to not only make the adjustment of going from one child to now two, but also to be able to have to study for the NCLEX in between. So I graduated in December, I moved in December, then I had my daughter in January, and now we're living in New York, and it's just a lot going on. I'm waiting to figure out when I'm able to even take my NCLEX, which is another whole thing that a lot of people don't really tell you. So what happens is when you're waiting to take your NCLEX, you have to have, first you have to register on like the actual website, but also you need to wait to test, meaning you need to wait to be able to schedule your test. So after you graduate, your school is going to send in your transcript to the company, and then they're going to be like, okay, we reviewed it, now you could sit for your test. But it's not that quick of a process. You have to wait, and it takes several weeks. Some states, like I know my friends in the South, they were able to take their tests a lot sooner than me. So I had to wait about 3 weeks to a month before I was able to take it, where they were able to take it in about 2 weeks. Which was a bit frustrating because statistically speaking, they say that the longer you wait to test, then the harder it is to pass your exam, which makes sense because everything is fresh in your head at that moment, and then the longer you are away from that material, it's harder and harder. So I was super nervous about that, but I was very excited when I finally got the email saying that I could schedule for my test. Originally, I scheduled it for the end of January, and then I ended up rescheduling it because I wasn't able to study at all. Because having a newborn and being able to study for the NCLEX was nearly impossible. So I already knew that I prepared a lot for this test, but every test is different. So when you're studying for the HESI exam, when you're studying for the NCLEX, they're two different tests in the sense that the questions that they're going to ask you are very different. So you need to be able to separate yourself from the two, but still understand that you need to know certain knowledge-based questions. So I had to take a step back and I had to reorganize myself, and I made my own study guide, which I'm eventually going to be having up for sale for you guys. So once that's all set, I will definitely post about it and I'll let you guys know, but it's in the works. But basically, I ended up rescheduling my NCLEX to February 14th. I figured February 14th is a loving day, so maybe I'll get lucky, or maybe I'll have an easier test and I'll be able to pass that day. I felt like it was a lucky day. So sure enough, I was able to pass my exam. I ended up doing the full amount of questions, which I was super freaked out about. A lot of people say like, oh, when you take all the questions, then you're definitely not gonna pass, but that's not true. So I have spoke to several other people who have taken all the questions, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people freak out when they have to take all these questions, but 3 of my really close friends, they all got, you know, full amount of questions, and then only one person I know only had like a little bit less, like maybe 110 instead of like the 145. So it's really not an indicator of how good you are at taking a test or anything like that. It's really dependent upon the material that you're going to be testing on. So on my test in particular, I had a lot of questions on community. So community wasn't my forte, so to speak. I didn't really care for that class. It was really, really difficult for me. I still did well in it, but it was just one of those classes that I just hated. So when I saw those questions, I was starting to freak out, and I really wasn't sure how to answer those questions, but I did an educated guess, and I just tried to use my critical thinking skills that I learned throughout nursing school to answer those questions. And apparently it worked because I passed. So the biggest question I'm sure you guys are thinking right now is, okay, Kristina, I get it, you passed, but how do I pass? So I'll break it down for you guys in another video about how I was able to pass the NCLEX, but I was just giving you guys an update about my life and where I've been. But one thing I really want you guys to be aware of is that the NCLEX, a lot of people put all this pressure on people about taking this test and how it's so important, and if you don't pass it, you're going to ruin all your opportunities and you're going to basically ruin your life if you don't pass it. There's all this pressure, all this anxiety, all this fear that's involved around it, and I want to take that away from you. Because yes, it is a hard test, but it's a test that you can pass. They make it to test your knowledge that you've been working on this whole time so that you can move forward with yourself, so you can become that nurse that you want to be. But you have to study. It's just part of it. Just like nursing school, you cannot pass nursing school without not studying. So you study for this and you use the tips and tricks that I give you or other people give you, and you combine them all together and you do what's right for you on how to learn the material appropriately, and you will do just fine. On these tests, you have to get about 50%, maybe let's say 51% correct in order to pass. Getting a 51% on an NCLEX exam is super easy to do. That's, imagine taking the hardest test you ever did and you say you bombed it and you got a 51 on it. That would be great on the NCLEX because you would still pass. Now, I'm not saying that you guys should get a 51 on this test. What I'm saying is that I do not want you guys to be so fear-based and so anxious about taking this test that you end up messing up on the test because you were so nervous about it. I feel like so many of my professors and so many people around me were like, oh my goodness, it's so hard, that I ended up freaking out. And I feel like it was not good advice to get from those people because you ended up being terrified of a test. At the end of the day, it's on the computer and it's questions. It's not the end of the world. You will pass it. You have to study. You have to learn how to use those critical thinking skills to answer those questions. That is how you pass the test at the end of the day. The biggest thing that I really recommend is to practice questions. So the questions that you want to practice are from the makers of NCLEX. So the people who make the exam are the people that you want to look at questions for. Now, the good thing is that some people already make their own study guides with questions. So one thing that you can do is look at questions. You want to look at the questions that the makers of the exam are making. Because what better resource to look at than the actual makers of the exam? These are the people that are making the exam, so it only makes sense to look at their information. So I'm going to give you a study guide, but use that study guide to learn the information that you don't know. Then after you know the information, you know it well, then test yourself with the information from the questions that they provide. And I'll get more into this in one of my other videos. So I wanted to give you guys an update about what's going on and how I passed my NCLEX. And then after I passed my NCLEX, I was able to land a job. I started that in March of this year, which is great. I'm on a med-surg floor, which was not something that I really wanted to do in the beginning, because I was like, I really wanted to be in a specialty like the NICU or the PICU, but all those jobs, since I applied later in the year, was already taken. So I didn't have that opportunity to apply to those jobs because, like I said, they were already filled. They had a lot of fellowships and programs that were already taken. So I kind of felt like I missed out in a way, but this ended up being a great experience because the floor that I'm on right now, it is so beneficial to get these skills down. And I really wish that someone would have encouraged me more to be on a med-surg floor in the beginning, because you really need those foundational skills. I hated when I heard professors say that. It really got me annoyed when they would be like, oh yeah, you should really do med-surg to begin with. And they just made it seem like, yeah, you had to, and it was kind of like this force, thing. But it's true. It's so good to have those foundational skills, because now I feel like I can go into any unit of the hospital and be able to do well in. Now, if I go into an ICU unit, I'm not going to be terrified when I see these sick patients because I already see them. I see everything in my unit besides the patient that's literally intubated. So beyond that point, like, I already know what I'm doing. I feel confident with my skills in such a small amount of time because I had to. I had to find this bravery and I had to find this trust in myself that I'm able and capable of taking care of these patients that are critically ill. So now some patients, they will be after surgery, other patients will be like, they fell, or you just don't know what you're gonna see in that sort of unit. So it's so good because you have so much experience from different parts of medicine. There's so many different parts within medicine that it makes it a specialty in of itself. So I really recommend that you even think about, even if you do it for 8 months, like, just do it, just try it out and see how you like it. And sometimes people are like, that wasn't for me, but I'm glad I have the skills. And that's kind of where I am. Like, I'm not like, oh my goodness, I want to do med-surg for the rest of my life. But I really think that these foundational skills are so important to have, and you will utilize them forever. So think about med-surg, get in that mindset of just being open to what is out there. Then you can go to your specialty, and you know what? You are going to be like the top one in that unit because they're going to be like, wow, she knows so much. Instead of somebody just going in there and just learning that specific specialization and those specific skills, X, Y, and Z, and while they just know X. You know what I mean? So it's just really important to be able to get those skills, and I really, really recommend you just try it out. Just give it a try. Well, thank you guys for coming today and listening to my updates about what's been going on in my life, and I hope you guys continue to watch my videos. I'm going to have a few that come out soon. If there's anything that you need, if you're a nursing student or if you're even a nurse and you just are curious about kind of what's going on in my life, or just in general, like things that you want to know, I'm going to think about maybe incorporating some plant-based meals. If you are in nursing school or if you're a nurse and you want some of those ideas, let me know and I'll definitely make a video for you. But please like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!